Nobody warned me about the donuts. Holidays, yes. Anniversaries, sure. All those first, right? But nobody warned me about the small, kind of specific, private things that were only ours. And how those are the ones that will take your breath away. The ones that will gut you. If you've lost someone, if you're navigating the calendar after a loss and wondering why certain days hit differently than you expected, this one's for you. Stay with me. When you lose someone, the calendar kind of seems like a minefield. You can see the hard days coming from a distance. Valentine's Day, birthday, anniversary, and Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve. When everybody is celebrating and you're quietly aware that the year stretching out in front of you is one they won't be in. And then there's this thing that happens when you can see a hard day coming. You try to brace yourself. You tell yourself, I know this is going to be difficult. I've done hard things before. I can do this. And then the day comes and it still hits you like a ton of bricks. Because you can't actually prepare yourself for the feeling of an absence. Yeah? You can know it's coming, but you can't fully armor yourself against it. And I want to ask you something before we go any further. Is there a date on your calendar that you're already bracing yourself for? Something coming up that you've been quietly dreading for weeks? I want you to hold that date in your mind as we go through this together, because I think by the end of this video you might feel a little less alone in it. Tony and I didn't really celebrate Valentine's Day, not in a traditional way. No fancy dinner reservations, no big gestures, just us. But when you're grieving, it doesn't matter whether you celebrate or not, right? Because grief doesn't care about your personal traditions. Grief cares about the energy in the air. And in February of that year, 8 years ago, that energy was everywhere. The ads, the store displays, the conversations around you where everyone's making plans, buying flowers, talking about where they're going for dinner. And all of this is just a constant, low-grade reminder that the person you love isn't there and they're not coming back. Tony passed in the second week of January, so Valentine's Day came fast. Too fast. Like, I was barely out of the initial shock of loss, and suddenly the whole world was pink and red and talking about love. And I was in shambles. And that's the thing about the milestones that fall early in the grief calendar. They find you before you even have the time to figure out how to stand up straight. But here's what I want to tell you about that first Valentine's Day after. Tony and I worked different schedules. He was always home before I was in the evening. And one Valentine's Day, this was years before I lost him, I came home and he said, "Oh, I have something for you." In that Irish brogue that I absolutely love so much. He gestured toward the kitchen counter. It was a very greasy Dunkin' Donuts paper bag. "Open it," he said, and I did. And inside was a heart-shaped jelly donut. For me? I took it out, put it on a plate, cut it right down the middle, and we each took our half and toasted each other. And then we ate it. And that became our Valentine's Day tradition. Every year after that, on Valentine's Day, a heart-shaped donut cut in half and a toast. No restaurant, no roses, just a greasy paper bag and something that was entirely ours and no one else's. That first Valentine's Day without him, I went and got the donut, put it on a plate, cut it in half, took my half, toasted him, and I took a bite. And that's all I could do before the tears came. Before I couldn't do anymore, I fell apart. But I did it. I showed up for our tradition even when he couldn't. And that broke me. But that's what love does. It shows up, even with a greasy paper bag, even when you're alone, even with tears running down your face and half a donut on a plate. But I want to stop here for a moment because I've shared my version of the donut and I want to know yours. What's the small, specific, private thing that was only yours? The tradition no one else knew about, the inside joke, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Saturday night ritual, the song that came on in the grocery store and stopped you in your tracks. Nobody warns you about those things. The grief books talk about the holidays. They don't talk about the greasy paper bag. But I know you have one, because I think most of us do. And I want you to tell me about it in the comments, whatever it is, however small it seems. Because I promise you, it's not really small, is it? It's everything. And you're not alone in it. June is Tony's birth month. And I want to tell you what I do on his birthday now. Because it took me years to get here, and I think it might be useful. So those first years were excruciating. His birthday was just another reminder of what was supposed to be and wasn't. But it became something else. If his birthday falls on a weekday, like it will this year, I always take the day off work. Every single time. And I spend it privately honoring him. It's almost like a meditation, really. I think about our time together, the good parts, the hard parts, all of it. I let myself remember him fully, not just the loss, but the life. And nowadays, those days have become more of a time to smile, a time to reflect, a time to feel grateful that I had him at all. But I won't even pretend like the first years look like what they look like now. They didn't. Those first few years, I was really just trying to survive the date. But grief, when you give it space, has a way of slowly transforming. Not disappearing altogether. I don't think that it ever really does. Just transforming. Do you have someone's birthday coming up that you're not really sure how to face? I just want to offer you this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know what the day should look like. You just have to get through it, however that looks like for you. Even if that means staying in bed, even if that means ordering their favorite food, watching their favorite movie, even if that means crying all day and feeling every second of it. Because that counts. And that's honoring them, at least from where I sit. October is the month when Tony and I first met. And every October since he's been gone, I feel it. Not always consciously at first. It kind of starts in my body before it reaches my mind. Up here. There's like a physical shift, for lack of a better term, a kind of subconscious alarm that I need to summon my strength. And it's like my body remembers before I do, if that makes sense. And then I realize, oh, it's October. And then I find myself counting. We would have been together for this many years now. This many Octobers. This many years of whatever we would have built together. 8 years on, I still brace myself. I still feel that shift. And I used to think that that meant that I wasn't healing fast enough or that I wasn't healing the right way. that I should be further along in my grief journey, and I was being morbid and holding on too tight. If you get what I mean. But that's not how I think anymore. I know it means I loved him fully, completely, without reservation. And love doesn't have a timeline, and neither does grief. Have you ever felt that kind of physical shift, that warning in your body before your mind is even caught up? I think most of us feel it, then talk about it. And I want to name it today because if you've ever felt it, you're not losing your mind. Your body is just kind of holding on to a memory of love. And that's not something to be ashamed of or to question. That's something to be honored. The last months of the year were hard. October, when we met. November, our wedding anniversary. Thanksgiving, my birthday in December. Christmas. One after another, after another, after another. Thanksgiving. Tony and I didn't do the traditional celebration, but we had our own thing. We would find an open diner, we'd eat, then we'd go to the movies. Just us and our version of the holiday. That first Thanksgiving without him, I got a lot of invitations. People were reaching out, wanting to include me and not wanting me to be alone. And I really appreciated the kindness. I genuinely did, but I just couldn't do it. The thought of sitting at someone else's table, surrounded by their family, their traditions, for me, that was a lot. While also, I was aware of my missing piece. I couldn't bear the idea of being pitied, of being the sad widow at the table, of people being careful around me, choosing their words just so, watching for signs of me falling apart. But I understand now, a lot of that was just me projecting. But at the time, I really just wanted my person, not someone else's holiday. So I stayed home. And I want to say to anyone who's ever turned down a well-meaning invitation because the thought of being surrounded by someone else's wholeness felt worse than being alone. That's not antisocial, that's not ungrateful. That's just grief being honest about what it needs. And then December came, my birthday month. We always celebrated each other on our birthdays. That was our set tradition. We always made sure of that. And that first birthday without him felt really isolating in a way that I hadn't anticipated. My friends, of course, they celebrated me. They took me to dinner, they showed up. And I was very grateful. I was. But my person was gone, and all the love in that room couldn't fill that very specific shape of his absence. If there are milestones coming up for you and you're already feeling the weight of it kind of pressing in, I want you to know, however you get through them, it's valid. Stay home if you need to, go out if it helps, cry at the dinner, leave early, order in, put on his favorite sweater, light a candle, do whatever it takes to make the day manageable for you. There's no right way to grieve a milestone. There's no right way to grieve a period. There's only your way. And your way is enough. I think it took me a while to really acknowledge that. I think we do ourselves a disservice when we talk about grief milestones as something to get through. I've probably used that language here or there. And survive Valentine's Day, survive the birthday, survive Christmas. And yes, survival is part of it. I won't pretend otherwise, but I want to reframe it in a different way. Like the bracing, the steeling yourself, the physical shift, the quiet dread in the weeks or days before, that's not weakness. That's love. It's still alive, it's still present, it's still paying attention. The hard days are hard because what you had was real, because what you lost was real, because the donut was real, because the anniversary was real, the movie on Thanksgiving was real. Grief doesn't ambush the people who love lightly. they find the ones who love with everything, and it keeps finding you year after year, date after date. That's not a sign that you're broken. That's a sign of how deeply you loved. I want to talk to you directly for a moment. If you found this video because you have a hard date coming up, a birthday, a holiday, an anniversary, something that's only yours, I see you. If you've been pretending to be okay while quietly dreading the calendar, I see you. If you've turned down invitations because you wanted your person and not someone else's table, I see you. If your body warned you before your mind did, if you felt the shift before you remembered why, I see you. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not doing grief wrong. You're loving someone who's no longer here to receive it, and that's the hardest, most human thing a person can do. I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments what your version of a donut is. What date is your body already bracing for? What tradition are you holding on to, even when it feels like it's breaking you? You don't have to share everything, even 2 words, even just to say, I'm in it. I'll read every single one. I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. This isn't a channel where I talk and you listen. This is a place where we hold it together. Turning a page doesn't mean forgetting. It means you're still here, still moving, still showing up for the traditions, even when they break you. Even with half a donut and tears on your face. That's enough. That's, in fact, everything. This is This New Chapter. Thank you for watching. You're not alone. See you in the next chapter.